Hey ratbags, it's me once again back with more Grounded Guides news. Today we're taking a look at the map changes, everything that's been moved or removed since the latest Bug Strike Back update. Of course, we've got this brand new upper yard area which we're going to go through on foot just to really experience the scale of it so far. But this is a warning. Do not build your bases anywhere in here. It's still marked off by the yellow tape, so that means anything could change, anything could be moved, and effectively you could have your bases wiped out. But that's not the only thing. You guys have been telling me for ages there is a beehive in the tree branches, so I figured I'd better show you just in case some of you guys had missed it like me. They'd moved it obviously from the table, and now this is where it sits. Is it going to remain a beehive? There's no bees actually around it, and unless I'm going to build the world's biggest, I don't know, clay foundation ladder, I'm not going to go up there and waste my time checking. There are kind of suggestions. It might not end up being a bee's nest after all. Instead, it might end up being a wasp's nest. Wasps are in the game, and there are some wasp nests. There's wasp parts in the files that I showed you recently in a leaked video, and it's one of the oldest things that we assumed we would get, as there was some kind of reference type of wasps or hornets in the key art. But there you go. If you're wondering where it was and you hadn't realised, that's where it is now. Of course, we have now got the Honeypot, and that's been moved a couple of times during the PTB. Only slightly over though. At one point it was nearer the can, now it's been moved over a little bit so it's right on the table a bit more. And we are assuming that eventually we will be able to get some actual honey from this thing. Now, honey was used back in the day for some traps that never got released officially, where you could slow down creatures. And since we've had all the other bug traps added, like the burr explosions and obviously the turret towers, I was quite surprised not to see honey. I thought honey would be an easy one. Maybe it was too OP, or maybe they just felt it wasn't ready yet. But clearly honey's got to be a plan or design in the future for us to go and get as a resource. Otherwise, why go to the bother of adding this here? I don't think we're going to have to pop open this jar. It'd still be too hard to get into the actual jar itself. I feel like the handle is at an angle that would make it still hard to climb up. Instead, I do think the honey is going to drip down, as that handle I do believe is in the wrong way round. So honey will just fall down here and we'll hopefully be able to get it. Of course, there are some other changes as well. If you go to the doorway, you can hear the music. Again, I've shown this off before. Someone else alerted me to this during a live stream and we checked it out. But you should be able to hear a different music if you come over here with your actual character. And we know now that there's a whole bunch of creatures as well as gear that we're going to be getting from the shed or undershed area. And then there's a couple of things again that are pretty obvious since a lot of you guys have seen it already as it was in the pilot test branch. But there is a brand new stone added, and it's going to lead us to, yes, a hamster. Finally clearing up what kind of bones were in this hole. 1986 to 1987. Bless poor little Dan Hamster Third. He only lived 1 year, but he lived it well. Also, just a little FYI, when I make these kind of videos, I'm always kind of geared up to making them for newer players that might not necessarily know some of this stuff. So forgive me if I'm going through stuff you already know. But yeah, they're kind of always designed for people that maybe haven't been keeping up to date with all the leaks, new info and new stuff. It does seem to have undergone a few little changes, and the bones have definitely changed. They are definitely much more kind of gruesome and much proper like bones. In the past it was just one big sort of skeleton. It wasn't all broken up like this, so it definitely looks like a proper creature now. I guess that's why a lot of us assumed it might be like a cat or a dog, or some people kind of tried saying it was actually maybe a human bone. But no, it is obviously a hamster. Wouldn't it be cool, or would it be just kind of a bit too gross if we could actually get bone from some of these? Like we've got fish bone, imagine if it was just another way for us to pick up a few pieces of bone. There is some bubblegum here as well, so that's like another way to get it pretty easily. But obviously this place usually is guarded by a pretty ferocious wolf spider. And in terms of the other kind of things we always check, well, the pond we know is going to be getting another pagoda at some point up here. We don't know where exactly it's going to be, if it's going to be in the water or just to the side of it. But more and more it's looking likely we'll be able to get to maybe access to this pond by going through the tunnel that lives underneath that pagoda. That's my thinking anyway, as another option to get up to the upper yard. You may have noticed that there is no longer just an empty void. You can actually peer over the fence and there is actual proper structures now. Might as well say hello to the crow while we're here. I went around and flew around all these buildings and there's no other little secrets or kind of Easter eggs. It is again still just the outside of the yard. And of course the secret laboratory that we're assuming this will be part of anything to do with the pagoda and the maybe upper pond being revamped is all here. You can still go and see the horrible blueberry teeth monster that I'm assuming might come into the game eventually as an enemy. And then the last actual, I would say, big change is that if you go inside the hedge, they've actually removed one of the laboratories completely. All the way up top, there's always been a secret little laboratory that you could go to. And it used to have a motor chip in it, and before then it used to have a story piece. It's actually gone. This used to be a whole big massive little area. There was a glass that looked out onto the batteries. Old players will know it well as it's been there for ages and you could always get in there. But yep, they've actually removed it and they've replaced the milk motor just straight up on top here. So yeah, that's an interesting development too. And finally, we are here at the brand new upper yards. Like I said, please do not build here. You risk it not for a biscuit. You might risk your base actually getting completely destroyed. There are definitely some interesting stuff. And I've gone over this again when the update first went live, the PTB. Devs did say there would be some changes. But some people are maybe getting a bit too happy that there's like a new environment or biome. And it clearly isn't. It's clearly in need of a little bit more work. But certainly what we do see is promising and exciting. We've got this pipe that kind of connects back up to the top of the pond. And again, it doesn't mean anything in itself. It may change. But you can see there. Whether or not that's going to be filled with water, we're not too sure. But yeah, I just wanted to have a little look properly from this kind of point of view and see what's there. Obviously, a huge amount of mushrooms. So it could be a good spot for now to at least come, if you really want to set up another mushroom farm. Although it is the wrong kind. I do think it's the white and red mushrooms they give more. We have got another little mini tunnel going this way. This is almost too perfect a tunnel, so I think this will actually be filled in. It might just be a spider spawn. And you'll notice that actually a lot around the yards, there is now proper spawn points or holes for a lot of the spiders and creatures to kind of live. Sometimes they just cowered under leaves, but yeah, for sure, the wolf spiders have got a lot more little caves that they can dive into. And then we've got the tunnel again, just a round circle. Now the plants are pretty interesting too. There's some weird warped big old grass blades that you can't actually harvest or do anything with. Likewise for these fern style plants as well. And these bulbs that are kind of sticking out of the ground. But yeah, for sure, it feels a bit more like a jungly area. It's not got that same foresty vibe that we get with just the regular grass stalks. With it all kind of hanging over, I definitely like it a lot. I like it as a biome. We've obviously got the big massive tub full of milk motors. And yes, there is a secret tunnel here that connects back to its lid. But clearly not a finished article. So we're presuming we'll get some more milk motors around here. Go all the way over on this side, you can see. And you can see there's here when we actually use the cheat stuff, you can go under and it just pretty much leads over to that side. But yeah, I really like this area. I really think, you know, it's going to get some more work. It will undergo some more changes. But what's here is promising. If this is going to be like a jungly, maybe more hotter climate or something along them lines, maybe not too close to the sandbox, that would be interesting. Of course, we know there is going to be maybe a lawnmower up here as well, judging by previous builds. And it's actually a whole bunch of other stuff. We've got a rock that's clearly blocking a tunnel. But actually, when you go through it, there's no actual tunnel here. It's not guaranteed to be something sort of that we go into. But this is the shot. All these mushrooms here, it could be a decent little place to set up a mushroom farm. And yeah, these weird plants that are overhanging, is that going to be a resource? Is it going to be something we can actually craft and utilise? Or is it just going to be a cosmetic style plant? We've got these little burrows as well, filled with obviously some of this. Yeah, there's all these little weird overhangs and stuff. It's a pretty large environment. Definitely got like sunflowers. So is that all we're seeing? It's just the sunflowers that haven't bloomed yet. I've got a bit of a wider valley going on here. So yeah, there's not too much info we can gain from this. Other than that, from the other stuff, we're all kind of predicting obviously more bugs and more creatures up here. But with the focus being on so many of them being in the undershed area, it's going to be interesting. Then there is another little tunnel going this way. I'm kind of hoping we can build in some of these. It's such a shame that we can't actually place any structures in some of the smaller tunnels that we've got in the lower yard. And yeah, it's a big area, but this isn't even taking up half of the upper yard. So there's still so much to add. If they do add the lawnmower and whatever structures we think might be up there, there's still plenty of space to go around. Then we've got another exposed pipe. This one actually goes into the ground a little bit more. Then again, we've got another hole in this side. So absolute mushroom heaven. Definitely somewhere to maybe set up a new mushroom farm. There's lots of different rises as well. When you're at this level, you kind of see the different in scale. It's almost like a mini hill or mountain. We've got more gnarled roots sticking out of the ground. And yet you can see more bees floating about. Could this be where some earwigs might be living? Or is it going to be just more of the creatures we've come to expect, with a lot of the creatures I've shown off recently in the files only being in the undershed area? As we get to the end, it starts becoming more like the rest of the flower beds and yard. And then yeah, we can see the whole wasteland. Not a huge amount of actual other stuff like clay. This is like the only place I've seen a few pieces. Most of it is just quartzite kind of lying around. A few small rocks as well. And if you try making a brand new save, it's simply just called the upper grasslands. And then yeah, it's way too soon to kind of predict what this will eventually look like. We all hope there will be some sort of ice biome or cold biome added here. An upturned fridge freezer or refrigerator. But it's such a big spot. Like I said, it just goes on and on. There's a lot of space here to do something with. And then we can see the burr is kind of just creeping in here as well. So this ain't a bad spot to get weed stems. There's a whole bunch of them are here as well. It's definitely a little pathway that comes up the side of the deck area. And we've got obviously another baseball. This feels like it's going to be the starting point 2.0. I'm sure there will be dangers, but it feels like this could potentially be just another safe spot before we start venturing even more into more difficult areas. So there we go. Let me know what you think about this. What are you hoping some of these changes are going to mean? And as ever, I'll be back with all the leaks, the news, the gameplay guides as always. Until next time, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.